Welcome everyone to the second StakeHound Ask Me Anything session. This is Albert Castellana, CEO of StakeHound. I'll be here every week with a conversation with an industry leader to discuss the state of the industry, staking, and DeFi. StakeHound brings staking and DeFi together so that you no longer have to choose between securing your loved networks and earning from staking or using your tokens on DeFi to make more money. Thanks to StakeHound, you'll be able to trade a one-to-one representation of any proof of stake token on Uniswap or borrow against it on tools like Aave or Cream. Today with us, we have a very dear friend, lawyer by trade, fourth Dan Aikido instructor, pianist, and the Project Steward at Zcoin, Reuben Yap. Reuben was one of the first people to believe in StakeHound and has since been one of the most relevant proponents of the project. We honestly would not be here without your help. So, well, maybe we can start by, can you tell us a little bit about your story? How did you get into crypto? Yeah, how come you're in, in the enterprise right now?
I actually was a lawyer for 10 years prior to doing crypto full time. And, halfway through like doing law, actually, when I started my law career, I also founded a VPN service called Bully VPN, and what happened then was people were asking me like, hey, why don't you accept Bitcoin? And Bitcoin, this was like in maybe 2013. So the VPN company started in 2007, but in 2013, people started asking me about this thing. And I was like, well, what is this? Can I convert it to cash? And I found someone in Singapore who would convert it to my own Malaysian ringgit. I was like, okay, as long as I can convert it, I'm happy. And I started accepting Bitcoin then. I should have kept it, but I unfortunately, I think it was like 70 or 80 US dollar per Bitcoin then.
Wow.
And I then kind of like went down the rabbit hole and, just did the whole shebang, mining, getting scammed on exchanges, all those pre-order miners, got into a few altcoins, including like the early privacy coins like Darkcoin, which is now Dash, and Monero. And I think in sometime in 2016, the Zcoin project started. And I was already kind of involved in the space, not in any official capacity. But I was like, hey, I've kind of done the whole thing. I want to know what it's like to be a part of the inside, like part of a cryptocurrency project. So Zcoin was starting. It was only 2 people then. They didn't have a community manager. They all like talking in very complex mathematics. I'm like, hey, I'm your guy to make things easy to explain privacy in farting mechanisms, which we'll go in later, I'm sure. But that's how I started, and I just evolved into the role, started taking on more roles, and now I'm kind of like the project steward. So I run the almost everything in Zcoin, except I don't do the coding. Yeah.
I guess a question that many will have is like, why Project Steward? Why this title?
Well, because we didn't want to have like a CEO, because like we're kind of like a decentralized project. It wasn't right to have a CEO. I don't know whether I be called a project. I guess it could be a project lead because I don't do the coding. And I think the way that I see myself is kind of like as a caretaker of the project until the project reaches sufficient decentralization, and I think that's the main idea behind that. Yeah. So we also to keep us all like in check, right? Like doesn't sound very powerful like a project steward. Yeah.
No, I mean you've obviously been doing a great job, right? Like you've been 3 years, in the bear market, and like that's a lot of stewardship for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a very challenging 3 years. But I don't know. I'm really glad to actually have gone through that. I think I've learned lessons that I probably would not have if it was a bull market. I know how to prioritize things. I know how to save money. I know how to avoid those people who overcharge us. And just keep the project running and pushing forward. So I'm really proud of what we achieved despite the bear market and the price. But Zcoin has come a very long way. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Well, congratulations. So can you tell us a bit about Zcoin, like what it is, like what's the purpose? Where do you see it?
Sure. Well, I mean, the basic idea is that, Zcoin aims to be, I guess a privacy coin that offers like the best practical privacy that any coin can provide. And the basic mechanism that we allow is to allow people to destroy coins. That means they destroy coins, and at any time in the future, they can redeem them for brand new ones with no previous transaction. So unlike other privacy mechanisms where it's kind of like mixing, this is almost like destruction and reappearing. So we think that's a much favorable privacy model. And that has been our kind of whole goal for Zcoin. And we do it without trusted setup. We do it a lot. We do it with without a lot of the perceived disadvantages of stuff
Mhm.
like DK snarks and things like that. Yeah.
Understood. Are there any like major developments coming up that you would like to highlight?
Oh, plenty. I mean, of course, the StakeHound partnership with the Stake Zcoin with the bridging into DeFi is really big. I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. But I think over the next few weeks, it's really huge stuff. Like first of all, our first halving is coming in 4 or 5 days.
Oh,
Going to be the largest halving in Zcoin's history. I think inflation has a huge drop, and it also means the end of founders' rewards. That means
oh,
everything
that's good.
goes back, and now we just have the development, all towards development, and of course the miners and the Z nodes.
Mhm.
We have the Lantis testnet coming in the next few days, really soon, and with a launch in maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Let's see how, we don't want to rush anything, but
It's close.
that's the rough time frame currently.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's going to be a rebrand. We're dropping the Zcoin name. We're fed up of being confused, and we're totally rebirth, like it's like we're being reborn. New privacy protocol, new start, new name, new brand, new logo, everything. Just don't fire me yet, because yeah, you want a new Project Steward, we can discuss about that, but
Can,
that still stays the same for the moment.
can it be shared? Can it be shared what the new brand is?
uh Probably not. I mean,
Ah,
like,
not yet. Okay, okay. We
not
can wait.
yet. Probably we're planning to reveal it around the Lelantis binary release. That means when we release the program, and
Uh-huh.
then we lead up to that. We've already registered the domain. So for those who don't know, the new name is only 4 letters long. We have a .org domain, and it's going to be red in color. So burning stuff, fire. So that's great.
Ah, interesting. Very, very interesting. Like destroying the coins and then, reborning them somewhere
Yeah,
else. It's very, very cool.
definitely.
Awesome. So, could you tell us a bit like what's the like? I mean, it's a masternode, has like a masternode component, right? And then like, could you
Mhm.
tell us like what's the thought around that? Like, why did you guys go for that? Like, what's the value of that?
Sure. I mean, right now, our one of the things that has been kind of difficult, especially for pure proof of work chains, is chain security, right? I mean, always people say like proof of work is the most secure. It actually isn't. Proof of work has always been, I guess, it's more of like the most well understood security model rather than the
Hmm.
most secure model per se. Everyone knows the risks, right? And 51% attack. I mean, that's not a hack. That's working as intended, right?
Exactly.
And one of the things is that we at Zcoin really believe in making sure that people who mine it can access it with commodity hardware. Commodity hardware means existing hardware that you have in your home, right?
Hmm.
And graphics cards is a great thing. So you can get the game. If you have a graphics card sitting at home, you can mine Zcoin as opposed to something like Bitcoin or Zcash, where you need a specialized machine that can't do anything else but just mine. Well, this, you earn some money on the side. We can still play games on it, do work on it, render stuff on it. So we think that's a really good use case. But the problem with focusing on commodity hardware is that often there's no loyalty towards mining a coin because
Right.
I can mine any other coin, right? My GPU can mine a whole range of coins. And what that means is that people can rent hash rate and attack your coin and switch back. Once the attack is done, they can switch back to something else. While compared with ASICs, like if I'm a Bitcoin, I have a Bitcoin ASIC. If I attack Bitcoin, it's kind of self-defeating because that makes my machines worthless, right?
Right, right.
Uh, so the idea of Z nodes or master nodes is to add additional security layer on top, where the master nodes form quorums. That means if you want to attack our chain, you both have to attack the Z nodes and the proof of work chain itself. So the proof of work is still functioning, distributing rewards and whatnot. The master nodes are checkpointing each thing so they prevents any sort of like any long reorganizations, and it also allows almost instant finality. You don't have to wait 20 confirmation or so. Within a few seconds, you already have a very high degree of finality there. So I guess it's a nice way to kind of still have the distribution mechanisms of proof of work while having incentivized infrastructure, which you can say like have higher requirements, and it's not a permission system like some blockchains where you need to get permission to run be a validator or there's a fixed number. No, you just have 1,000 Zcoin, you can launch it up. There's no permission required. And I think that's a nice balance between, let's say, like decentralization while having solid, fast infrastructure. And Znodes get about 30% of the block reward and soon to be 35% of the block reward after the halving, which is still a net drop, but it's a bigger percentage. Yeah.
Absolutely, no, and like, how do you see kind of like DeFi like integrating with this model, right? Like, do you think that there's going to be like competition between, the security, like the staking and the security that it's actually like bringing to the project versus like the DeFi space and how quickly it's growing? How do you see that?
Right. I mean, the thing is that the DeFi space is right now, obviously with any new technology, I mean, even blockchain to begin with, there's of course a lot of hype, right? There's a lot of, like a lot of this yield farming stuff is obviously unsustainable, but people who just focus on that aren't seeing the real tools that are actually being built on DeFi. Like, stuff like Uniswap, stuff like Bancor, like all these decentralized exchanges. They are really like, I have used it before, and once I used it, I was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. I mean, like just like a simple use case. I mean, DeFi has many use cases, but I really love the decentralized exchange portion, which is, okay, let's say with a traditional exchange, let's say I want to do Binance, all right? I sign up, I do KYC, I get it approved. Now, after that, I need to deposit my coins, wait for it to confirm. After I confirm, then I go to the trade, place my order, wait for it to be filled. And then after that, I place a withdrawal request,
Right.
enter my two-factor authentication, blah, blah, blah. That's already like, I don't know, 12 steps or something like that, right?
Yes.
With a decentralized exchange on, let's say, like, you're using MetaMask or like the thing, all you do is just go to the page, click swap, confirm, and bam, you have just performed an exchange, and you don't have to have like, crazy market makers or stuff like that. It's all done in a very decentralized way, and all the stuff right now in DeFi, I think this will probably change soon, is it's all happening in Ethereum. Now, we see like, okay, that we have an option. Should we build it all on Zcoin and like divert our resources? And we're not experts in DeFi. We are great at privacy technology. We're great at what we do. But then are we going to say, oh, let's re-educate ourselves and start doing DeFi stuff, building? I think this is like trying to do too many things at once. It makes more sense to integrate into an ecosystem where there's so much development and active participation going on there, and plug into it. And now you have Zcoin that you can be on Uniswap, be on these decentralized loan platforms. And it's very minimal work on our end. I think that makes more sense. And we're not ruling developing our own thing later on, but it just makes more sense to just do this right now, go where the attention is, and get more visibility for Zcoin in a space that may not have even heard of us. So I think it's a win-win. Yeah.
I mean, we're super thrilled to be able to launch the stake Zcoin in, like early October, basically.
Yeah.
I really wonder, like, what are the things that you really want your community to understand that they will be able to do with the stake Zcoin, right? So you mentioned trade it on Uniswap. I don't know, like, if you're going to be happy or not to see them go full degen, and like start like yield farming here or there. Like,
I mean, like I personally think like yield farming, yes, there's a lot of unsustainable models there, but there are some stuff. There are people that are building valuable platforms on top of their yield farming and use yield farming as a way to kind of promote their platform. It's kind of like I say like it's like Uber subsidizing stuff
yes.
to to get traction. I don't think that's necessarily wrong. Like the pure degen stuff where it's just like this coin is just to make more of this coin, then yeah. But if it's just like it's an incentive to drive people to use it, like I know maybe Sushi Swap started as a scam. Now I'm still not sure, but it looks like something's happening, something that interesting is happening. I don't know. I mean, my personal views on that are just like let's wait and see. But the fact is that there's stuff like Compound, there's stuff like all these other protocols. They are also people are building yield farming stuff, and that doesn't make them bad. And it is driving interest into these projects, and I think
Absolutely.
that's a general win-win. But I think from the Zcoin point of view, people might ask that, oh, why are you like doing this DeFi stuff? What is the benefit of having it on the DeFi ecosystem, right? And I think one of the things that has been a real big pain point for especially coins like ours is that we have about like 60 over percent of our supply locked in Z nodes. And that on the way sounds great. Like, wow, so many people believe in the coin that they're willing to hold Xenos and for the infrastructure. That's great. But it also means that the amount of Zcoin that is available to trade is also 60% less than it should be, right?
Right.
And people are kind of incentivized to hold the coin. And it also serves as a barrier to entry into like a Xeno. It almost makes like a first class citizen and then like a second class citizen, because you have one group of people who are holding Zcoin that is earning, right now maybe a 15% per annum yield. And then you have the other Zcoiners who aren't earning anything on it, right? And there hasn't really been a good way for people to actually, like, if I don't have 1,000 Zcoin, how do I do that? And that also affects adoption, right? It's like, why would I want to buy into a project that I'm going to be a second class citizen?
Right.
Uh, so the way we say is that, okay, how do we resolve this problem, right? And by having staked Zcoin, people can buy fractional ownership of a Zeno. Don't they don't have to even worry about any of the technical elements of
Right.
hosting a Zeno, keeping it updated and stuff like that. And now they can trade it. They can trade it while still continuing to earn the rewards on the Zcoin. They can trade it, and even like it even benefits Whales, because like Whales say like, I don't want. I may want to like treat my stake Zcoin, but I'm not necessarily break it up. Suddenly, all my Z nodes are now liquid that I can trade them. I can get all this stuff, sort of stuff. So I think that's a real huge benefit for Zcoin, especially if we can build meaningful liquidity on this DEXs, and or make it be used as collateral for like loans on Compound or ARV or Cream or whatever. I think that's really powerful rather than relying on centralized type of services. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that for sure, being able to borrow, for example, against your Znode, that's going to be absolutely a very like
Correct.
needed feature, right? Like that's very, very exciting. Like just gives you much more freedom. You know that you're supporting the project, you're helping with the security. You know that you still have the liquidity to be trading at the same time. You're still getting the yield. It's a much more conservative yield, so you know that it's more sustainable at the same time, right? So
Yeah.
it's very good like middle ground. Awesome. So there's like a couple questions on of the community. Like one of them goes around like regulations and like how do you see like all the regulations and privacy coins like interacting with each other. How do you see that? Yeah. How do you feel about Zcoin and regulations and how they how do you kind of comply as much as possible?
I think right now, I mean, there's a lot of misunderstanding. There actually isn't any law to ban privacy coins. It just seems to be like pressure or misunderstanding of the law.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I think one of the things like, oh, how about like the biggest regulatory obligation has been like the FATF travel rule, right? Everyone has been asking about this, but the FATF travel rule, and some of the coins, they're not even helping. Some of the privacy coins are not helping. They are promoting stuff that doesn't really quite make sense. I won't name them out here, but the basic idea of the FATF travel rule is that if I'm an exchange or if I'm holding coins on behalf of customers, so like let's say if I'm a custodian wallet provider or I'm a custodian, whenever I transfer to another custodian or exchange type of thing, I need to be able to attach customer information to say this transaction came from this customer. And that's basically it, right? Now, exchanges already, for the most part, already require KYC. So they already know your exchange. There's no expectation of privacy when you're dealing with a centralized exchange, right? Similarly, even if you're doing like, if you have a custodian type of wallet like Coinbase or whatnot, there's not going to be an expectation of privacy. You are trusting your coins and your privacy to a centralized provider, right? So when they trade with each other, if they have your KYC, regardless of whether it's a privacy transaction or not, they can always give your information to the other party, right? It's like, okay, Binance gives it to Coinbase gives it to another party. Even if I do a totally private transaction, the exchanges still know who you are and can pass that information. Now, some of the other coins, they're saying that, oh, we can actually attach your identity or some sort of marker on the transaction itself. But the FATF travel rule actually says that you don't need to do that. You can do it in any way. You can do it in the email as long as that information is. It doesn't actually have to be on chain. It does actually really make sense to have it on chain. And if you take a look at the way this VAPS infrastructure, it is not supposed to be done on chain. It's supposed to be a thing for all cryptocurrencies, not just privacy coins itself. And I do feel that, as long as the fiat gateways are being regulated, which they are, and there's no difference between, let's say, a privacy coin and a regular coin, right? And I feel that many of the exchanges, I think they are more of like, am I willing to fight for this? I think that's the main key things, because governments, they want to be seen as doing something. They're like, it's easy to ban privacy coins, but okay, what about if I do like, like, okay, now Bitcoin, it goes through a coin join, some people even flag it as well. Or like, if I go through like Tornado Cash on Ethereum, is that going to be flagged as well? It's actually, to me, a lot of it is theater. It's like, you just make them satisfied enough. Like, even all this like blockchain analysis company, a lot of the time it's probabilistic, but it just gives the regulator comfort that we have some oversight of it. And this is unfortunately the game that people are playing. And the way to do it is, one way to do it is to try to comply and play the regulators, but you have to remember, regulators want the least word for themselves, and the least words for themselves is just give us all the privacy information, give us a backdoor or anything, and obviously or just ban it completely, right? But the way to kind of like approach it is to actually make it such so that we are so difficult to stop. Like if you created Bitcoin and then you went to the regulator when it was first coming up, people were saying, all the regulators said, nope, don't go ahead, but right. Because Bitcoin gained so much traction and the governments realized we can't control this, like if we ban it, it's still going to happen anyway. It's better to regulate around it. And this is why we feel that, in Zcoin, we're not going to do anything to like promote money laundering and stuff, and we're still going to be able to comply with FATF travel rule and stuff like that. But we're also going to make ourselves available on DEXA so that if the government's going to start saying that, all right, I'm going to ban it, it's going to make it a lot harder for them to completely ban, because there's all these things it's going to be a regulatory challenge, and then it will make sense to regulate around it. That's my personal opinion on that. And hopefully, we're starting to see like even Monero coming out with regulatory guidelines on why privacy coins should be extended to to exchanges and why there should be allowed. So there's still a battle there, but we should attack the battle in different fronts. We should be trying to satisfy the regulators on the legal standpoint, but we should also be trying to push for adoption and like decentralized ways, so that we're attacking the problem from several different fronts.
Got it. That's very, very interesting. Do you think that there is like that they have taken so far like a sensible approach to this? Like, are you happy with the state of things, I guess?
I mean, US, they are still like, you have organizations like the EFF and the Coin Center and very strong lobbyists groups. So you have exchanges like Kraken that really would fight for you. They will use their resources to fight for the right for privacy. So I think in the US, so far, it's been okay. But if you take a countries like Korea or like Japan, or Australia, they've just went like total lockdown ban and whatnot on privacy premises. Just totally ridiculous. I think it's kind of silly because even like in Japan, the reason why they banned it was because NAM got hacked on CoinCheck, or rather CoinCheck got hacked and NAM was stolen, and then they used that to ban privacy coins. So we're like, there's no relation. NAM's not privacy coin. No privacy coins was used to money launder, but it's nuts, right? So I'm not really happy with how the Asian markets are dealing with it. They're just like, we want to operate business. We're not going to fight for rights. We just want to continue business. So let's ban the privacy coins because they're not a significant proportion of the market yet. So that's my take on that.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, you've been in the forefront of this fight as well, right? So you really have a very good understanding of this, and like, that tells a lot to me. So more questions from the community. Do you think that staked Zcoin will cause centralization in Zcoin?
That's a really good question. So I think for the whole question, I think was from Project Shift, right? Is that right? Shifting the So because you say it's like, oh, if staked Zcoin becomes so profitable, then why not? Why wouldn't there be a massive exodus of Znodes into staked Zcoin? First of all, staked Zcoin will never be as profitable as hosting your own Znode, right? Because there are certain fees involved in the custodianship, in all the Masternode hosting, but it just makes it a lot simpler. It's a reasonable fee, but it is still a fee. And there will always be people, especially whales, who would still want to control custody. I don't think there's going to be like a huge issue because so much of the network is on it, and most people would want to continue to enjoy the maximum rewards. But then there will be enough, as long as there's enough staked Zcoin in the ecosystem, I think that'll be fine. I also spoke to Albert on this. Like, right now there's one custodian and there's going to be one like Masternode provider, which is all nodes. But as right now, it doesn't make sense because like there's no market yet. If you split it over too many, there's not enough of a pie. But as the ecosystem grows, it makes more sense to introduce additional custodians and additional Masternode providers to further decentralize the system. But I don't foresee staked Zcoin like taking over like 50% of the networks or something like that. Maybe 10%, maybe 20%. I mean, that is the reality of it is that and then you're going to expect, you can't stop people from doing this type of services as long as the incentives align. I do think it'll be decentralized enough. Well, that's my perspective. Yeah.
Understood. No, yeah, for sure, we're going to try to do the best to distribute the funds so that the decentralization keeps intact, right? Like, for example, All Nodes has a very good policy as well on like how many servers they're running and like in what locations. And I know that you guys have been working very closely with them to make sure that they understand kind of the priorities that Zcoin has in terms of kind of decentralization, making it
correct. Yeah, well, I mean, we were, because like all nodes have like host such a large proportion of the nodes. We were talking with them like, hey, make sure to not just geographical, but also in terms of providers, like don't just use DigitalOcean, use other providers as well. So they've been very receptive to that. So we are mindful of that. It's not ideal, but I do think it will work out in the long run. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, when I'm asked that, one other thing that I add normally is just like look at exchanges, like centralized exchanges, right? Like what percentage of the total supply right now is held by Binance?
Yep.
That's one
That's a
single
good
custodian.
proportion.
That's it, right? So
Correct.
okay. So, well, I think that we've come to an end. Thank you very much for joining today. It's been a pleasure. It always is, and like I really look forward to the next conversation. Please remember the community to like and subscribe the channel and join the future conversations. We will be jumping into the Telegram channel at StakeHound for the next few minutes, just to answer if there's any other questions that you guys would like to have a response to. And yeah, just I hope to see you all very soon on the next session next week. And
Yeah,
thank you, Reuben.
really excited to have 60 points soon.
Very soon. I can't wait. Cool. Have a good time. Bye-bye.